Welcome in. This is going to be episode 1 of what we are calling the Round Pen here at Thousand Hills Cowboy Church. I've got Pastor Nate with us. This is a podcast.
Yeah.
This is we've set all this stuff up. We're going to be trying to do 2 of these a month, and the topics are going to be pretty widespread. We may do some Bible studies. We may talk about some things going on in our church. And then we may talk about some things like what we're going to talk about today, things that are going on in our world around us and how that applies to us as Christians and what we should be doing. If you like this, share it, get it out there. Like I said, we're going to be trying to do 2 of these a month. This is the podcast for August the 10th, 2022, and we can jump right on into it.
Let's do it.
So it's been about almost 2 months. We're coming up on 7 weeks since the overturning of Roe V. Wade, and we should be celebrating it.
Absolutely.
I think we've seen that throughout our nation as far as Christians go. We've been praying. Christians have been praying for this for over 50 years. What happened back in, 1973, I believe?
Yes, sir.
Making abortion legal nationwide, and we've been praying for it for a long time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so we celebrate. I mean, that's probably when the news came down. Of course, we heard rumors that it was going to come down, read it, heard about it on the news, that sort of thing. But just it coming down was really a blessing. I mean, the church ought to celebrate any time lives are saved. It's kind of one of those things to where, like you said, it's been prayed for. People have talked about it. We've listened to pastors on sanctity of human life Sundays preach about it, and now it's here. And the church ought to just worship and rejoice and thank the Lord that there are some people that are finally coming to their senses in our government. So,
yeah, and it's we're seeing now a lot of things coming from the Supreme Court that seems like we're passing things back to the state level. We're taking some of the power out of our federal government, and the rights are being passed on to the state level. And so, what does this mean, this Roe v. Wade being overturned on a national level?
Well, really nothing has changed. Really what has happened is things have gone back right. In 1973, the Supreme Court basically did something that I would say was illegal. Unconstitutional, illegal, and basically told states this is how it's going to be from here on out, and that's the way it's been for really all these years. What is that? Close to 50 years. Mm-hmm. And so now it's going to put it in the rights back to the states the way that it should be. And now our lawmakers, particularly it affects us here in Tennessee, our lawmakers here in Tennessee and wherever state you're in, now our lawmakers will make the determination. Basically, the ones that we've elected, the ones we put in office, will now make that determination, which is the way that it should have been back in 1973 as well.
Right. And so what we're looking at now is in Tennessee, very conservative state, we're going to see some laws change. But, nationwide, we may see abortion laws become more loose.
Sure, absolutely.
I think we're going to see that, some of the early reports coming out of California and states like New York, where your abortion laws become easier for people to have an abortion.
Absolutely.
And so the work is not done as far as prayer goes.
That's right.
For abortion.
That's right.
And you're not going to stop evil. I mean, I don't think we have the ability within us as humans to rid the world of evil acts, but through prayer. Of what we've seen over the last 50 years, you're going to see a large portion of states. I think I saw one of the early reports showing 30 plus states that are going to have stricter abortion laws in some form or fashion. So, here in Tennessee, We already had a heartbeat bill that had gone into effect, I believe, in early June. But looking at our laws and what we're seeing now in the state, I think the new laws take effect August the 25th. There's a lot of confusion with the laws that are coming out in the state of Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So we're probably not going to be able to dive into those on this podcast, right, just because we don't know exactly how those laws are going to set up. But what we do know is that from heartbeat detection, abortion is going to be illegal in the state of Tennessee.
Amen. Amen.
And so what, as Christians outside of our church, just anybody that's watching our podcast, what are some things that you would suggest that they need to be doing as far as being proactive in this movement?
Yeah. So a couple of things I think that we need to do is one is contact our state lawmakers. We need to make sure that they know how the church feels, how Christians feel, how the citizens of Tennessee feel about abortion, and let them know, hey, we don't want abortion in Tennessee. We want to have Tennessee to be really a sanctity of life state, a sanctuary state, if you will, for the rights of the unborn. We don't want that here, and so you've got to, as a voter, as a citizen, as a Christian man or woman, you've got to contact your local lawmakers and tell them, hey, this is what we want. So that's one of the things that we need to do. The second is we need to ask for reformation, if you will, for adoption, for foster care. We need the system that we believe is broken. You and I believe it's broken, and a lot of you all believe that it's broken. We need that to be completely reformed and make it easier for transitions, for foster care, for adoption, to make it affordable. You know, it's pretty expensive to adopt right now.
It really is. What some numbers domestically, you're still looking $20,000-$30,000 for a domestic adoption, and that's, you know, it's the climate that we're in. Why are we making it hard for people that want to adopt kids or better the life of a child? Especially when the mom is willing, mom and dad, if that be the case, are willing to give the child up for adoption. Why are we making it so difficult for parents that want to adopt to have that opportunity?
Absolutely. And then after that, the church just needs to. I mean, to be honest with you, the church needs to step up. Churches need to be putting in programs. They need to be thinking about your church, wherever you're at. Your church needs to be thinking about, okay, what are we going to do now if indeed Tennessee becomes a sanctity of life state, a safe haven for the unborn? What are our churches going to do? How are we going to step up for these unplanned pregnancies in these ladies, these women? How are we going to love on folks that have had an abortion at some point in their lives, and us explain the gospel and love them through the gospel of Jesus, and hopefully help them get through the baggage of that, the shame of that, the pain, and all of these things. Churches just simply need to step up.
Yeah, and sadly, you know, that's been my fear from the get-go, is churches will celebrate the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and then nothing will be done on the back end of that.
Exactly.
And that's, unfortunately, that's the way that a lot of churches are. It's the way we live. You know, we get all high and mighty on getting something stopped, but we're not part of the solution on the other side and on the back end of it. Right. And, you know, that's when we as Christians give up what we're called to do, we allow the federal government room to step in and take over in our place.
Absolutely.
You know, and then we see broken systems like the foster care system, and some would say, I would say, the welfare system, and
absolutely
things of those nature. So, what with all that's been said, you know, me and you have talked on many different occasions about what is our church going to do going forward, as far as what are our plans to be there and to be part of the solution.
Right. So right now, of course, I mean, this is something that you're heading up for our church, but obviously, whenever the news came down, we brought challenges from the pulpit of what it is we need to do, and so we're basically putting money where our mouth is by putting together a team of folks in healthcare, folks that have adopted, folks that are just really interested in this obviously issue for a lot of churches and a lot of Christians of what it is we're going to do. And so we began partnering up, and that's what we're doing. We're looking for partners. We're finding partners. We're seeking out. We're educating ourselves. I know y'all are meeting and working on these things to make sure that it's all the above. It's everything that we can get our hands on, and partnering with the folks that are already ministering to ladies that have had unplanned pregnancies, families that have unplanned pregnancies. We're looking at all these things that we can do in order to put our money where our mouth is. And so, I mean, you could probably expand a little bit about what that team is actually doing right now and some of the workings that y'all are.
Yeah, so we are. It's called the Papyrus Project, and papyrus being the basket that what the basket was made out of that Moses' mother put him in when she essentially gave him up for adoption instead of taking his life. And a lot of things we've come up with 3 goals so far. One is to support mothers, to support children, and then to support adoptive parents. Mm-hmm. And so those are our 3 broad goals. But we're in works with trying to plan foster care classes here at our church, to where if there are people that are interested in foster care, they can come in, they can take the classes, they can get the certifications that they need here at our church. And we're looking at partnering with adoption agencies as well as local organizations that are working with, like you said, unplanned pregnancies, or maybe just a mom that is at high risk that needs help getting to and from doctor's appointments in Nashville. We're not narrowing ourselves down to just one thing. We're looking to be a support system overall for families.
Absolutely. And that's really what every church needs to do, Boomer. No matter how big your church is, if it's 5,000 people or it's 5 people, there is something you can do. There's some way that you can support. Maybe it's finding that church where you can support them in prayer. Maybe your church doesn't have the resources like another church does, but you can support them in prayer. You can encourage them. Sometimes when we're in that battle, we just need somebody to breathe courage in us and say, "Attaboy, get after it," And so that's something you can do. You can also support financially. You can find these churches that are doing this work, that are trying to make a difference in our world in Jesus' name, and support them financially with, very little or a lot. It doesn't necessarily matter, because at the end of the day, all of us coming together with one goal, one mind, as the church should, it makes a difference. I mean, it really does.
It does. And one of the things that you talked about as we're kind of wrapping up here, one of the things that you talked about was reaching out to your lawmakers.
Absolutely.
From a church standpoint, from just a regular Joe Blow that maybe you don't go to church, but abortion is, you're against abortion.
Right.
How do you reach out to your lawmakers in your state? I know we've both done it here in Tennessee. How do you reach them?
It's real easy. All you have to do is go to your search engine on your cell phone, your computer, tablet, whatever, and just simply type in Tennessee state government, Tennessee lawmakers, anything to do with Tennessee and law, and it's going to bring you right up to the state government page of whatever state that you're in, and then all you have to do is type in your zip code, your address, and your zip code, and it's going to tell you exactly who your lawmakers are.
And it gives you a phone number for their office.
It gives you a phone number for their office. You can tap the email button, and usually it'll pull up the app, the app that you use for your emails. It'll instantly pull up that app and go to asking them questions, whatever it is that you want to know, and they're good to answer you back and kind of give you an idea of the plan. I know that we emailed, I can't remember exactly what I emailed our lawmakers, but basically it was something to the effect, now that Roe versus Wade has been overturned, what are our next steps? And then I also wanted to know not just the fact that we have now states' rights and the opportunity to essentially outlaw murdering children, but also I want to know, as a Christian, what are we going to do in terms of abortion and not abortion, but adoption and foster care? What are our next steps? Because those are the big questions. Probably one of the biggest things and critiques I think a lot of pro-lifers get from pro-choicers or pro-abortionists are, you want this life, but then what are you going to do when this life hits the ground? And I think the church has a major responsibility. All Christians have a major responsibility to help answer those questions and really navigate, because that's a great question. Mm-hmm. If we have this influx, because I think you had some numbers earlier, you were telling me about abortions in Tennessee. If those lives are saved, what are we going to do with those 12,000 or so lives, in this state next year? We need to have options for these mothers and these children.
Yeah, and I mean, that just to throw that number out there. Of course, understand this is from Wikipedia. Okay, it was it was the first one that I could find, just trying to find some quick tips. But 2014, out of 7 abortion clinics, there was like 12,500 abortions in the state of Tennessee.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's a lot larger number than I expected from. I mean, Tennessee's we hang our hat on being a conservative state.
That's right. We're a red state,
and with the overturning of this, I think, like I said, this coming out August 10th, so we've got about 6 months probably before we start seeing an influx of babies born as a result of this overturning of Roe v. Wade. And I smile. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see. I really think this is a great opportunity for the American church to step up and be a light in a dark place.
Absolutely, I agree fully with that. It really is an opportunity for the church to be the church and do what it is we say, Sunday after Sunday, in everything that we talk about as a church, being pro-life. Obviously, as Christians, we just need to step up. And so that gives you an opportunity, that gives us an opportunity to simply be the church. And so support with prayer, support with feet on the ground, support financially, support with encouragement for those that are going to be fighting this good fight. So,
good deal. Well, this has been fun.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed it.
I think we've kept it to around 15 minutes.
Perfect.
Which is what we're shooting for. Again, this is episode 1 of hopefully many, many more to come. If you, again, like it, share it, get it out there, and we appreciate you sticking with us.
Yeah,
thank you for coming on.
See you on the next one.